Hey, everybody. Welcome to the 18th of July, 2025. I'm Connor MacIvor. Let's talk about what's happening in real estate. Let me log in. Just a couple things before we get started. That first best step, if you're considering buying or selling anything, is going to be gauging your financials. In a lot of cases, you go to the online systems, you make an inquiry. This is the amount of money I make. Maybe these are the debts I have. These are the other sources of money that I may get, and then you ask it to calculate what you're approved for, or what type of price range you should be looking for with regard to a residence. It sounds simple, and that's usually kind of the way it's going to be pretty close with that. But really, when you talk to a real estate lender, they're going to give you the rest of the story. We have many clients come to us. They don't realize there are certain things on their credit that they missed or they were unaware of that are going to inhibit their ability to purchase real estate. But before you go all in and start giving up numbers and social security numbers and dates of birth and addresses to a specific lender, it's probably a good idea to make sure they're a good fit. So a few things that I would do is I would, of course, talk to them, be it in person or over Zoom. It's important if you're looking for a real estate lender, which I am not. I am a real estate agent, but I've been in this business since 1998. So I have a few tips and tricks. When you're talking with them, see if they're local, see if they actually have a brick and mortar office. For example, my brick and mortar office for my real estate company is on Avenue Stanford here in Valencia, California. It's an actual office. You can walk in. We could set up a meeting there if that's what you want. You want to see in person. You want to get the handshake and all these things before we even embark on our real estate journey. That's important. Same thing with a lender, but maybe more so for accountability. Of course, most agents are going to be local. You're not going to be hiring a virtual agent out of New York, for example, to represent you on a residence, because who's going to show it to you? Who's going to walk through the house with you, and so on. So agents, yes, they're mostly local. Now you could venture out and get, 20, 30 miles from Los Angeles or from Santa Clarita and find somebody that would be more than willing to represent you, depending on price point. Fortunately, it always seems to come down to that. But again, you can find somebody from out of the area. Are they going to be familiar with all the nuances that are Santa Clarita Valley with Melrose, homeowners associations, maybe certain areas that are more possible to have maybe liquefaction, maybe have a certain type of wiring, maybe a certain type of plumbing back in the day if it wasn't attended to. Knowing those sorts of things about the residences, probably not. You probably won't be able to find that, but the locals that have been doing this a while, more than likely they'll be able to walk you through all those parts of the process. So with real estate, yes, you're more than likely going to be teaming up with somebody here locally, as I am in Santa Clarita, you're the agent of your choice. Same thing, you should talk to them, get to know them, and find out, where their mindset is. What are they giving out there as far as value adds to people that are looking to buy or sell real estate? Okay. Back to the lending end of it. That local lender, that local office, hugely important. If there's an issue, you can go bang on their door and say, listen, what's the deal? What's happening with this? Versus some kind of off-site company. Now, a lot of the off-site people, the ones that are out of state, that basically portray themselves as being somewhat local, their deal isn't going to be any better than a local mortgage broker's deal, or even mainline bank. It just depends on where your financing happens to be, your wherewithal within that particular institution. Maybe you're some kind of a fancy high level account holder at a particular bank. You might be able to beat any mortgage broker's deal when it comes to borrowing money on real estate. Maybe you're with a credit union. Maybe that would also apply, but you'll never know until you get that good faith estimate that you'll ask them to produce for you. Now, most of them don't give this out until you have a house, of course, identified. You find the house you want with me. We go out, we get ready to write an offer. Of course, that lender is part of that process, at least as far as what the payment looks like, that type of fee schedule, and then where that interest rate could potentially be if things move forward pretty quickly. They could actually get a lock on that when we get our offer accepted within 1 or 2 days. And if they're giving you a particular interest rate today, it's probably going to be very similar to what 2 or 3 days from now may be, in most cases. So they can, give you that net sheet at that time. So then you see their fee schedule, but a lot of times that's kind of late. It's almost like, well, now I'm in, now I really need to, okay, there won't be any argument. I'll just go through with it and accept it. You should have that done early. So my biggest tip of today, as I've talked about in my Zoom Me SCV openhouses.com meeting. If you want to schedule that appointment, that's below. If you're at the homepage of Santa Clarita, openhouses.com, you'll be able to click on my calendar and get access to that. But the ultimate question would be, I want to find out what you're charging me for this particular loan. And while the interest rate's going to be relatively close, just depending on when you have them do that net sheet and when you end up getting into escrow on something, you'll at least have an idea what their fees are, interest rate aside. So they'll be able to work that up. They might say, well, we don't have a house identified yet, so you're going to have to wait. Say, well, no, that's really not what I want to do. So let's make one up. So if your comfort zone is $900,000, let's say, or $950, wherever the median sales prices here in Los Angeles are. So let's say $950, and that's where you're comfortable. You've looked at all the numbers. Then you can give them that fake property based on a particular homeowner's amount, if there happens to be a homeowners association. So we'll throw that in there, because if you're looking at a majority of properties that have them, you might as well include it. And then let's say you're looking at a majority of properties that happen to be newer, that carry extra Mello-Roos tax, I should say. In those form of special assessments, maybe that's something else you should include. So now you have the house. And now they should be able to give you at least an idea what they're going to be charging. And then you hold on to that and follow up with them. Any questions in email, follow up with them, and then work it out as we move through the process. But that's a good way to get started on this. All right, so let's give you that Santa Clarita updates. Coming soon properties, 95 new listings placed in the last 7 days. 114 properties have had their prices changed. Majority of those reductions in listing price, not actual sold prices, but listing price to new listing prices. Usually that's done about a 30-day standard. Depends on the seller, depends on the market. But right now it is taking longer to sell real estate because we have more inventory than we've had in many, many years. So we're pushing 800 actual residences for sale. That's single family, condominium, townhome. Back on market properties, 26, active under contract properties, 32. Those are into escrow, 57 property pending, deeper into escrow. 60 properties sold this week, 6 expired, 19 canceled, 12 been put on hold, 4 have been withdrawn from the market. If you're looking, make sure your agent also includes in the property research listings that have canceled, been withdrawn, or expired, because they might actually fit within your criteria, and it might be something they can approach because they have a real buyer, which would be you, and see what kind of a better deal they can get for you. I do this for all my clients. You can find more about that, ZoomMeSCV.com, or just below, hit the calendar. We'll get on a call together, Zoom call. I'll explain to you the process. Thank you for watching. Have a fantastic day. I'm Connor with Honor. We'll see you in the next one.